Greetings, I'm Amayensis, a 2D artist from France who has recently learned 3D with Blender in order to create more accurate references for my illustrations. Most of the time, I use 3D models I find online to create said references, for example from Sketchfab, PolyHaven, or DAZ 3D. But sometimes I model my own if I can't find what I need. And that is what happened with bird wings. It may just be me, but I'm a bit of a birdwing nerd and have never found satisfying and affordable 3D bird wings online that are not overly simplified or outright inaccurate. This is why I've decided to create my own. These wings were modeled by hand after raven wing photos. As you can see, each wing features a wing arm, primary feathers, secondary feathers, alula feathers, dorsal, primary, and secondary coverts, and ventral, primary, and secondary coverts. Note that I haven't modeled lesser coverts or tertials, but maybe I will attempt that on a later version of the model. You can download this file for any price you want on my Ko-fi page. Note that I'm using Blender 5.1.1 and that the model may not work in earlier versions. Now let's see how the model works. Just so you know, the original wing blend file comes with text instructions for quick reference, but keep in mind that they will not show up when importing the wings into another file. Let us import the wings into a new blend file. First, delete the cube. To import the wing model, go to File, Append, look for the wing blend file, Collection, and Raven Wings. If the colors of the feathers don't show up, open the Viewport Shading menu, then in Object Color, select Object. Note that these custom colors do not appear on renders, but only in the 3D viewport for readability. To pose the wings, select the armature and go to Pose mode. Check X mirroring if you want to pose the wings symmetrically. I personally like to set my transform orientations to local, so that I can rotate bones along their local axes, and my transform pivot point to individual origins, so that I can pose several bones at once. I rotate each bone by either pressing R and moving my mouse, or pressing R then X, Y, or Z to rotate along the X, Y, or Z local axis of the bone. As you can see, each flight feather can be rotated individually, which allows for very fine control over the pose. But there's more. Let me just reset the pose by selecting all the bones with A, then Pose, Clear Transform, All. Outside the main skeleton of the wing, you will find control bones. Control bones act like shortcuts that can pose several bones at once in a more natural way. The control bones aren't rotated, but must be moved with the G key. Move the control bones along different axes to get different effects. The purple bone controls the tips of the outermost primaries. Move it along the Z-axis by pressing G then Z to bend the primary tips. Move it along the Y-axis to twist the primary tips. The red bone controls all the primary feathers. Move it along the X-axis to extend or fold the wrist and hand bones as well as their attached feathers. Move it along the Y-axis to rotate the feathers around their shafts. As you can see, control bones don't affect all the feathers in a uniform way. The outermost feathers are more transformed than the innermost ones, just like real-life bird wings. The green bone only has one role at the moment, which is folding or extending the secondaries by moving it along the x-axis. You can press Shift while moving bones for more precise transforms. Be careful when posing the wings, as the feathers can easily clip within one another, so you may need to take some time adjusting the bones individually, depending on how accurate you want your renders to be. The original blend file comes with a few pose presets I have created by using bird photos as references. You can find them in the Asset Browser panel inside the Shading tab or in the Animation tab. If you have imported the model in another file, you can import a pose preset by going to File, Append, select the Wing Blend file, then Action. You can import one or several poses at once. Click Append. To find the poses in your file, open a new Asset Browser panel, then Current File. To use a preset pose, select the armature, then go in Pose mode, press A to select all the bones, then double-click on a pose. You can also simply select the armature in Object mode and double-click on a pose preset. These poses aren't perfect but can be used as bases for your own custom pose. Make sure to watch out for the animation timeline and stay on frame 0 to avoid unwanted behavior during render. If you want to create your own pose preset, open the Animation tab. In Pose mode, select all the bones, then click Create Pose Asset inside the Dope Sheet panel. Type in a name, then pick the current file library. You can customize the wing materials in the Shading tab. Select any part of the wing mesh in Object mode and set the shader type to Object in the Shader Editor. You can technically paint a texture over the wings as well. Just know that I don't currently have the time or skill to unwrap UVs perfectly, so you may notice artifacts when painting on certain parts of the feathers. If you wish to attach the wings to a character, here's an easy way to do it. This is a character model with its own armature, and here is the wing model. Each model and armature is in its own collection. In Object mode, resize and position the wing armature as desired. Once it's done, make sure to deselect everything, then only select the wing armature. Hold Shift and click on the character armature to select it as well. Go in Pose mode. Select the central wings anchor bone of the wings. Then Shift, click on the character bone you want to attach the wings to. Ctrl P, Parent Bone. You can also parent bones in this menu. Pose, Parent, Bone. Now if you move the character model, the wings move with it, just as desired. Note that if you go out of pose mode, you will need to select both the character and the wing armatures in order to pose them together. Otherwise, you will only be able to pose one armature and not the other. And I think this wraps it up. Remember that 3D models are never 100% accurate. So when you need references for your artwork, don't forget to also use real photos. Thank you for checking out my wing model, and thank you for watching.